The scent of brewed tea and freshly baked bread filled the air when you stepped into the kitchen. The chatter of the maids stopped immediately, their hands pausing mid task. It wasn't common for you to appear here. You were usually confined to the room that felt more like a prison than a bedroom. They exchanged glances, whispering silently with their eyes. The headmaid, Mrs. Martha, quickly stepped forward. Madam, do you need something? Whatever it is, I'll have it sent to your room, she asked gently, almost cautious. You shook your head, your voice low but steady. No, Mrs. Martha, can I talk to you for a while? A silence stretched in the kitchen. She turned her head, giving a small nod to the other maids. Finish your work. Then she gestured for you to follow her. Together you walked into the mansion's garden, the morning air heavy with the scent of dew and roses. For a while there was only the sound of footsteps on gravel. Martha finally spoke, her tone soft and regretful. I'm sorry for yesterday. I shouldn't have said anything to you. You stopped, turning to her with urgency. Please, don't be sorry. I should be the one apologizing for how I spoke to you. Her eyes softened, but she shook her head firmly. No, you didn't say anything wrong. No one can understand the pain you are bearing in that room. I should have. I should have helped. I wish I could. You swallowed hard, your hands trembling slightly as you found the courage to ask what had been haunting your mind since last night. Can I ask you something? She nodded. Of course. You said there was a reason behind Jungkook's actions, that he wasn't always like this. Tell me, Mrs. Martha, what happened in the past? Why is he so afraid of guns? Martha froze mid-step, her eyes widening in shock. She turned sharply to you. How do you know that? You looked away, your jaw tightening, remembering the way Jungkook collapsed last night, his voice breaking into confessions of being not a murderer. Please, just tell me. Martha exhaled slowly, her face pale as if dragging out a memory too heavy to bear. She gestured for both of you to keep walking along the stone path between the hedges, her voice trembling as she began. This family wasn't always like this. The Johns were proud ones. Two sons, bright, inseparable, loved by everyone. Jungkook adored his older brother, followed him everywhere. They were happy. Her voice cracked slightly before she continued. But one afternoon, the boys were playing in the old storeroom. They found a gun. No one knew it had been left loaded. Jungkook was only 5, too young to understand. He thought it was a toy. He pointed it at his brother, laughing, and pulled the trigger. She stopped walking, her eyes glassy, her hands clenching in front of her apron. In a second, everything changed. His brother fell in a pool of blood. His parents came running, screaming, blaming him. From that day on, nothing was the same. Jungkook lost his childhood in that moment. His parents lost their heir, and they never forgave him. You felt your throat tighten, your hands curling at your sides. Since then, every time young master sees a gun, he breaks. He still hears the sound, still sees his brother's lifeless eyes, but instead of healing him, his parents, especially Mrs. Jeon, made sure he never forgot. They buried him under guilt, under chains of duty. His mother tells him even now, you took a son from me, give me another. That's why he's desperate for an heir. Martha looked at you with pained eyes, her voice trembling. What he's doing to you is wrong. I won't justify it. But madam, you asked why he's like this. That's the truth. He's not just cruel, he's broken, and the ghosts won't let him live. You stood there frozen, the breeze carrying away her words, leaving them to echo in your chest. The hatred inside you didn't vanish, but for the first time, there was something else beside it. You were still lost in Martha's words, her voice replaying in your head. When footsteps echoed sharply in the hallway, Jungkook stepped out of the shadows, his figure tense, jaw tied, and eyes burning. Where did you get that gun? You froze but didn't answer, your face returning to the mask of indifference. He raised his voice slightly when he repeated, I said, where did you find that gun? Your lips curled into a bitter smirk. I just did. I don't need to tell you from where. His jaw clenched hard, muscles twitching, his fists trembling at his sides. I'm not in a mood of games, Fian. Just tell me, he said through his gritted teeth. You let out a sharp scoff, your voice laced with venom. Games, that's your specialty, not mine. I don't play them. He lifted a hand, ready to grab your arm, but his fingers froze mid-air. He couldn't, not this time. Your eyes met his, cold and fearless, stripping him bare. You took a step closer, your voice cutting like a blade. Instead of asking me where I found it, maybe try asking why that gun is still in this house. The words hung in the air like a curse. You brushed past him, your shoulder grazing his arm, leaving him standing in the dimly lit corridor, frozen, shaken. For a long moment, Jungkook didn't move. His mind spiraled. That gun, the same gun, his brother's blood, his mother's words. The endless manipulation, the suffocating guilt. His fists clenched under his knuckles, went white. Rage burned through him, raw and uncontrollable. Without another thought, he stormed down the hall, his footsteps like thunder against the marble floors, until he reached his mother's room. He didn't knock, he shoved the door open, startling Mrs. Jeon, where she sat at her dressing table, calmly adoring her jewelry. Jungkook, what on earth? He cut her off, his voice rough and trembling with fury. Why is that gun still here? She froze, her hand hovering above a pearl necklace. What gun? His fist shook violently at his sides, his voice rising. Don't play dumb with me. The gun from the storeroom. The one. His voice cracked, but he forced it louder. The one that took him away. The one you have kept around like a curse so I can never forget. Why is it still here? Her eyes turned sharp, but her voice stayed cool. You shouldn't be asking why it's here, Jungkook. You should be asking why you still can't let it go. His breath came heavy, uneven, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He took a step forward, his words trembling with fury. Let it go? You think I don't want to? Do you think I haven't begged every night to erase that day from my head? I was 5, mother. 5. I didn't even know what I was holding. He jabbed his finger at her, his voice growing hoarse. But you made sure I never healed. You locked me in that memory. Every word, every look, every demand you have ever made of me was just a reminder that I am a murderer in your eyes. That's all I have ever been to you. Her face tightened, her lips a thin line. Jungkook breathed hard, voice thick with pain. I'm also your son, but after that day, you stopped treating me like one. You buried him and you buried me with him. You lost one child and then threw the other away, as if I was nothing more than a mistake. Mrs. John's gaze hardened, her voice sharp and unyielding. You took my firstborn from me, Jungkook. Do you expect me to forget? To pretend it didn't happen? I let you live in this house, under this roof, when you should have been. He cut her off, screaming. You were right. I should have been in jail. Yes, but you know what, Mom? I have lived every single day wishing I could trade places with him. Every time I close my eyes, I see his blood, his face, his body on the floor. You think I don't punish myself enough? You think I don't already hate myself? His voice cracked, his eyes wet, though he refused to let them fall. You didn't need to destroy me too, but you did. You broke me, mother, and now I'm breaking her, the woman you forced into my life, an innocent woman who had nothing to do with your grief, your hatred, your manipulation. Her expression didn't waver, but for the first time a flicker of unease passed through her eyes. You owe this family. You took its heir. Now you will give it another. This is not about love, Jungkook. It's about duty. That girl is your responsibility and she will give me what I want. Jungkook's chest heaved, his hands curling into fists so tight his nails dug into his palms. No, mother, she's not my responsibility. You are. Every scar, every nightmare, every cruel thing I've done to her, every part of the monster I have become, it's all because of you. You didn't just lose a son that day, you killed the other with your own hands. His voice cracked into silence. For the first time in years, he saw her falter, her fingers twitching against her chair. Her breath caught, but she didn't answer. She stayed still, her cold mask returning. One day, when you look at me, I want you to remember this. You created me. You made me into the monster you hate, and I will never forgive you for it. He turned sharply, slamming the door behind him so hard the mirror on the vanity rattled. Mrs. John sat frozen, her hands trembling ever so slightly on her lap, though her lips curled, but not in a smile, with rage and anger. The door opened with the brisk, businesslike creak Mrs. John always made when she meant to dominate a room. She swept in, skirts rustling, face set like carved marble. Her eyes went straight to the dressing table where a small drawer hung slightly ajar. The place where things people wanted hidden were often hidden. She bent, fingers quick and precise. She was looking for the gun after finding it missing from the storeroom. When she pulled the drawer fully open, her hand closed around a small foil packet, her head tilted, her eyes narrowed. Birth control pills. For a second, the world seemed to tilt in her polished face. Her lips thinned, anger flared like sudden fire in the porcelain mask. She held the packet up as if it were a scandalous jewel and whirled toward the door, just in time for you to step inside. You paused in the threshold for a breath, watching her with a calm that had been carved out of months of surviving. Her expression was fury and surprised, braided together. Seems like people in your world don't respect privacy. Mrs. John's mouth opened and snapped shut. She did not bother with pleasantries. So you are taking these, are you? So that's why nothing is happening. You are preventing the family line. You crossed the room slowly, unbothered, like every step was a deliberate refusal to shrink. When you reached the dressing table, you didn't glance at the pills. You looked straight at her. Yes, I'm taking them because I will not get pregnant with a man who isn't even whole, with a man whose mother still twists him into knots and watches him hurt others to satisfy her whims. I will not carry your heir for you while you dismantle people to feed your pride. Mrs. John's nostrils flared. She held the packet out between two manicured fingers as if offering poison. You have a dangerously large mouth, girl. You forget your place. You should be grateful you are in this house. You leaned forward, voice dropping so it cut like a blade. I haven't forgotten where I came from. In my home, real mothers don't punish a child for a mistake he didn't understand. Real mothers don't take a boy's life and then punish the surviving child for the rest of his days. They don't chain him to guilt to feed their vanity. They don't make his life a penance. Mrs. John's color changed from anger to the flash of alarm. Her eyes snapped to yours, then hardened. And who told you this? Who has been feeding you whispers about our family? You watched the muscle work in her jaw. You didn't hesitate. I don't need anyone to tell me. I saw him on the floor. I heard him in the hall. The house leaks what you tried to hide. And what you did, what you do to him, is not love, it's a sentence. Mrs. John's hand tightened on the pills as if they were a control knob she could twist back on. For a frantic second, she looked like a woman on a cliff's edge. Then she snapped, loud and venomous. Martha! The name hit the air, the kitchen door banged open, and the headmaid appeared in the doorway, face pale, apron clenched in her fingers. She knew what that summon meant. Martha's shoulders hunched in instinctive fear. She had kept the house's secrets for decades. She came forward with the quick, humble gait of someone who expects to be accused. Her eyes flicked to you, pleading. Mrs. John's voice was venom now, public and theatrical. Is this how you keep the household? You tell this girl things that do not concern her. How dare you? You stepped between them before the woman could finish, your posture an unbending line. There's no need to waste your anger on her mother-in-law. Martha did what she could. She told me truth you buried. She kept a life and a child in her memory, something you seem to have forgotten how to do. Don't you dare make her take the blame for what you did. Martha's lips trembled. She lowered her head, voice small. I'm sorry, ma'am. Mrs. John's face contoured with fury, a flash of selfish panic underneath. She pointed a finger at Martha like a dagger. You will be punished for this breach. This house does not tolerate loose tongues. Pack your things, you are dismissed. You laughed, a short, hard sound. Punish her for telling the truth? You should be punished for the things you did when no one blamed you but your conscience. You hid a gun, you hid a crime inside your home and let a child grow with that weight on his heart forever. You starved him of forgiveness and called it discipline. You tortured him until he was a hollow man, and then you expected a daughter-in-law to bear the cost. Mrs. John's face flushed a violent red. Her voice dropped to a low, dangerous whisper. How dare you speak to me like that, you ungrateful? You cut her off, every syllable precise and cold as a scalpel. You took a son from that house and you broke the other one. He is not your instrument. You do not get to choose a child's price and call it redemption. You are not fit to be trusted with a child. You will not have an heir from me, not while you breathe. For a beat, there was absolute silence so loud it felt like thunder. Martha's eyes brimmed. The other servants had paused in the corridor, listening. Mrs. John's mouth opened and closed. She recovered some of her composure, spine straightening, voice clipped and fake. You overstep. This is not how one speaks to their elders. You will choose your words carefully. You turned, not bothering to lower your voice. To everyone within earshot, listen well. This house will not keep hiding sins in its drawers. Not anymore. You all choose now. You protect the truth or keep living under whatever ugly choice she made. I will not be the one who fills her need for vengeance. I will not be used. Then, without waiting for her reaction, you left the room. The door closed behind you like the end of a sentence. Mrs. John stood staring at the spot where you had been, lips a thin white line. For the first time you saw beneath her practiced cruelty a silver of fear, not for you, for what else might be underneath from a house that had kept so many secrets. Martha remained for a long moment, hands folded as if in prayer, then quietly retreated. Outside in the corridor, the air was thick with the knowledge that a line had been crossed. The daughter-in-law had spoken to the matriarch as an equal, and the household had heard it. You stepped out into the cool corridor and found Martha waiting by the garden gate, fingers worrying the edge of her apron. The morning air smells of jasmine and damp earth, small steady things that feel like proof the world would go on. You stop a few feet away. Martha, I'm sorry you had to risk yourself for me. I won't let them throw you away for telling the truth. I promise you that. She met your eyes, surprise, and something like relief flickered across her lined face. She lifted a hand as if to refuse the apology, but you hurry on. And I'm sorry for everything you had to carry because of me. I didn't want to drag you into this. Martha's mouth curved into a sad little smile that didn't reach her eyes. I don't regret it. It was right. I have kept the house's dirt for too long. Maybe it was time someone cleaned it out. I may not be here to see it, but I will pray for you, for your success, for the young master. Please help him if you can. She clasped her hands together as if in prayer, and the earnestness in her voice wedged something fragile and fierce into your chest. I won't tell you to forgive him. That is yours to decide. But show him a path, somehow pull him out of that fear and darkness. I believe you can, and madam, please take care of yourself. You let the promise hang for a heartbeat, then stepped forward and closed the space between you. You folded her into a quick, fierce hug. Her body was small under your arms, her breath hiccuping as she tried to hide the tears that threatened to spill. You held her for a long second, feeling the city and the house and all their terrible histories press against the two of you. Thank you, and please call me Vian. I don't belong to this world, Martha. I won't stay here forever, but while I am, I'll do whatever I can to make things a little better. For him, for you, for the sister I lost. Martha pulled back, dabbing at her cheeks with the corner of her apron, her eyes bright but determined. Vian, she said your name like it mattered, because it did. If anyone can make it better, it will be you. Be careful and don't try to carry everything alone. You nodded, the thin thread of an answer and a plan already beginning to tighten in your chest. She squeezed your hand once more, then straightened, the old woman returning to her post. Together you stood at the garden gate for a moment longer, two small figures against a house that had kept too many secrets, and then you both stepped back toward whatever came next. The bathroom light was harsh and white. Jungkook stood over the sink, hands braced on the porcelain, staring at himself in the mirror until the edges blurred. She's right. She's right. His reflection looked back like an accusation. He let out a bitter laugh. A monster. That's what I am. A John with a name and nothing behind it. He slammed his fist into the glass. The first impact sent a spider web of cracks across his face in the mirror. Pain flared in his knuckles, hot and immediate, but he didn't pull back. You think it's them? My mother? The house? Fate? No, it's you. You put your hands on her. You broke her nights. You stole her sleep. He hit the mirror again, harder. Glass showered onto the sink and floor. Blood welled from his palm and he watched it drip as if it were the one honest thing in the room. I could have stopped. Every night I could have stopped. I told myself I had no choice. I said they made me. I lied to myself. He pressed his bleeding fist to the largest shard left in the frame and watched his smeared face multiply, fractured, monstrous. I chose this. I chose to be this, not them. Me. A laugh, thin and jagged, escaped him. What kind of son am I? What kind of man? I was a child when it happened, and I have used that child as an excuse for years. I used it to hide. I used it to hurt. He struck the mirror again, then sank back on the closed toilet lid. Head in his hands, tears cut tracks through the grin of his face. I hate you. I hate you so much, not them, you. You are everything wrong, he said to himself. He looked up at the splintered glass, voice low and relentless. You want to call it duty, to call it repayment, but what you did was choose to hurt someone who didn't deserve it. You made an innocent pay. You made me pay. I made her pay. His laugh was a broken thing. I wanted to fix it. I thought giving them an heir would fix it. I thought if I obeyed enough, the guilt would stop gnawing. Instead, I became the thing I feared. He curled his bloody hand into a fist and slammed it on the sink until the porcelain rang. Pain was a small, certain thing he could feel instead of the large dread. I am the wound. I am the rot. No one's going to forgive that for me. He let out a long, exhausted breath and looked at the smear of blood on his palm as if reading a sentence he couldn't erase. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve mercy. I only deserve what I give. He closed his eyes and slid down the cabinet until he sat on the cold tiles, the broken mirror reflecting pieces of a man he no longer recognized. The sound of his quiet, ragged breathing filled the bathroom as the rest of the house went on, unaware. You stood outside the bathroom door, frozen. Inside, his broken voice spilled through the crack. Your hand clenched at your side. For the first time, you heard not the beast, but the boy trapped beneath it. Then I'll make you realize. I'll make you question, and one day you will heal, I promise. Your phone burst in your hand, a new message lit the screen. Divorce papers are ready for your signature. For a beat, you only stared at the words, then you read them again. You felt something unclench in your chest. Not relief, not victory, but the first clean line of an exit. You tucked the phone back into your palm, the screen's light dimming against your determined fingers. Let's end it once and for all. And you left from there.